So good to have you join us today. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Ijun in Seoul. Coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. Months after its Note 7 debacle, Samsung unveils its Galaxy S8 smartphone with an all-glass design, curved screen, and much more, getting ready to go head-to-head with Apple's iPhone 7. Is the Korean economy falling behind when it comes to per capita income? The country's GNI per person has yet again fallen short of the $30,000 mark. We'll sit down with an expert to talk about this. Is it going to be a shot at redemption? Samsung Electronics has unveiled its Galaxy S8 smartphone, and experts agree that it's a make-or-break phone for the Korean tech giant, as Samsung tries to rebuild its image after the embarrassing withdrawal of its fire-prone Note 7. Our Noaram has more.
Two versions of the Galaxy S8 were launched at a media event in New York on Wednesday. The S8 and S8 Plus have 5.8-inch and 6.2-inch curved screens respectively, the largest yet for Samsung's premium smartphones. The firm has also ditched the physical home button to maximize display space. It's replaced with an on-screen icon similar to that of rival Android phones from LG and Huawei. However, with the S8, there's a pressure sensor and a vibration module built in behind the icon to give users some feedback. It also has a new virtual assistant called Bixby and an iris scanner that lets users unlock their phones by looking at them. Another handy feature is a dock that connects the phone to a monitor, keyboard, and wireless mouse, allowing them to act as a kind of Android-powered PC. As for the camera, the front is getting a boost to 8 megapixels, while the rear stays at 12. The S8 lineup is crucial for Samsung in trying to recover its image as a reliable phone maker after the Note 7 had to be recalled twice for catching fire due to what Samsung called battery problems. But the company said it had since put in additional safety measures.
We put the Galaxy S8 through our toughest safety testing process ever, with an 8-point battery safety check that goes beyond the industry standard.
The S8 and S8 Plus will go on sale on April 21st in the US and April 28th for the rest of the world. The retail price starts at around $700 US. Noaram, Business Daily.
Korea's Finance Minister Yoo Il-ho has reiterated that no effort should be spared to revive Korea's economy, even as there are small signs of recovery. At a Parliamentary Strategy and Finance Committee meeting on Thursday, Yoo promised close monitoring and thorough management of external uncertainties, including North Korea's provocations and U.S. Fed rate hikes. He also said the government will continue to focus on improving the livelihoods of average citizens and revitalizing domestic demand, while also moving forward on structural reforms and preparations for the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution. On Daewoo Shipbuilding's pending bailout scheme, Minister Yoo urged interested parties to share the losses to prevent the company from entering court receivership. Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago President Charles Evans says one or two more rate hikes might be the right amount of tightening for the U.S. economy this year. Speaking at a banking conference in Frankfurt on Wednesday, Evans said the fundamentals of the U.S. economy are good, calling for additional increases in short-term interest rates this year. Evans added that economic growth should be stronger than originally forecast over the next few years. If this forecast hits the mark, Evans expects 3 more rate hikes in 2018, and this would bring the federal funds rate up to 2% by the end of next year. Article 50 has been triggered, officially starting the United Kingdom's long journey to leaving the European Union. The notification, signed by British Prime Minister Theresa May, was hand-delivered to European Council President Donald Tusk on Wednesday by UK's ambassador to the EU, Tim Barrow. Tough negotiations are expected on everything from immigration to trade and security, among numerous other issues. Any trade new agreements reached between UK and EU negotiators will, in the end, need to be ratified by both the British and European parliaments, in addition to the European Council in Brussels. The countdown is now underway to March 2019, at which point the 2-year deadline denoted by the Lisbon Treaty ends. There's a concern that Korea's economy is losing momentum and potential growth. While it had narrowed its gap with neighboring Japan over the years in some fields, that appears to be losing steam. Here's our Eunice Kim with more.
Korea's economy has been inching closer to Japan's following the 1980s, increasing its speed in the mid-90s. Looking at per capita GDP, Korea in 1995 had recorded a difference of more than $30,000 compared to that of Japan. 2 decades later, just last year, that gap narrowed to below $10,000. While Korea's economic expansion has been described as impressive by most, looking ahead, at least one domestic think tank is saying Korea's speed relative to its neighbor to the east stands to slow. In a report issued Sunday, Hyundai Research Institute notes, as Korea's potential growth rate gradually falls, Japan's, albeit at a snail's pace, is stepping up. Even as Korea's industry and technology had closed in on its historical rival, it's finding itself on its back foot with the onset of the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution. Citing data from Swiss-based International Institute for Management Development, Hyundai Research Institute points to a scientific competitiveness that was in hot pursuit in 2009, coming just one notch below Japan's second-place finish. But last year, while Japan maintained its position, Korea dropped to 8th place. Then how ready is Korea for the next industrial era? Hyundai cites analysis by UBS, which has scrutinized countries by 5 categories: its labor market flexibility, adaptive education system, high skill level, social overhead capital, and legal protections. Based on these factors, it evaluated nations' readiness for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And while Japan's competitiveness came ahead of Germany at 12th place, Korea just made the cut for the top 25. In a Tokyo-Seoul comparison, the latter lagged behind its rival across all categories. Hyundai Research Institute warns although the Japanese economy has struggled in what has been dubbed the last 2 decades, Korea is in no position to be complacent. It urgently needs to reconsider its direction and adopt a new fundamental strategy as the early presidential elections push in. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
For 11 years now, Korea's gross national income per capita has failed to reach the $30,000 mark, with levels standing at just under $27,600 last year. So when will Korea be able to join the ranks of other advanced economies when it comes to GNI per capita? Take a look.
Gross national income refers to the total domestic and foreign output by residents of a country, reflecting the income level of an economy. According to the Bank of Korea on Tuesday, Korea's GNI per capita rose 1.4%, or nearly $400 to just above $27,500 last year. But this figure is still far behind Korea's long-held target of $30,000, showing its ongoing struggle to get on par with other advanced economies. After entering the $20,000 range in 2006, Korea's per capita GNI hit a new high in 2014, but it has still remained below the $30,000 mark. Considering that it took Germany 4 years, Japan 5 years, and the US 9 years to climb above the $30,000 level, experts say Korea's now been stuck in the $20,000 range for too long.
To tell us more about this, we have Professor Kim Se-won from Ewha Women's University joining us in the studio today. Great to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
All right, so how does Korea's GNI per capita of $27,561 compare to that of other countries?
First of all, GNI, or gross national income, is the sum of all Korean citizens' income inside and outside of the country. So it includes Korean people's income in the foreign countries, but excludes foreign people's income in Korea. So the size of the GNI is about the 1.4 trillion US dollars as of last year, and that is about the 12th largest GNIs in the world. And when we divide the GNI with the number of population, that's going to be personal income, which is $27,500. And that represents the quality of the living, and that is about the 47th largest personal income in the world.
So then why is Korea having so much difficulty reaching this $30,000 level? I mean, what do you think is the biggest hurdle?
Well, as we saw from the report, for more advanced countries like US, Japan, Germany, and Australia, it took less than 8 years on average for these countries. Personal income jumped from 20,000 level to 30,000 level. But their income has grown like that in the middle of 1980s and 1990s when global economy is continuously booming. But in the case of the Korea, of course, we have quite a few internal problems. But in the case of the Korea, when Korean personal income became 20,000 level in 2006, the timing was so bad because we just got a global economic recession from 2008. So that's the major reason.
Now, I mean, could one of the biggest reasons also be Korea's prolonged low growth?
Right. So first, the reason of that is extended recession of the Korean economy. But if we take a look at personal income in different angles, we have different interpretation. If we recalculate personal income in terms of the Korean won, the growth rate was 4% in the last year. But if we calculate the growth rate in terms of the US dollars, that was 1.4%. So that's why, the reason for that is Korean won has been depreciated. And also, if we adjust the price level of different countries, Korean personal income amounts to amazing $38,000. There's no difference between Korean personal income and Japanese personal income in terms of that.
Okay. Now, at this point, I think some of us are wondering, what's the significance behind this $30,000 mark? I mean, in Korea, it's been considered a quite important goal to reach.
Right. That's a very important question, but I would say we don't have to stick to the $30,000 personal income because it is only a number. That does not exactly reflect our quality of the living. But according to many economists, what we found in the past is when personal income exceeds $30,000, the economic structure changes from manufacturing-based economy to a service-based economy in terms of the finance, education, broadcasting. And people's living pattern also changes. When personal income exceeds $30,000 per person, the luxury sports gains the boom, like horse riding and yachts.
Now, considering that Korea's potential economic growth rate remains in the upper 2 to lower 3% level, how likely is that Korea will reach this $30,000 level in the near future?
Well, it is pretty much estimated that Korean potential economic growth is 3% per year. So that's the maximum speed of the Korean economy as of now.
Okay.
So if Korean economic growth at the rate of 3% per year, Korean personal income will be over $30,000 in 2019, only 2 years ahead of it. And if Korean economic grows at the 2.5%, which is more realistic assumption, Korean personal income is $30,000 in 2020.
Now, what are some of the other ways that Korea can break out of this $20,000 range that it has held on for so long?
Well, I would say the economic destiny of the country is like this. If a country does not grow, that ends with a collapse. That's what we saw from Philippines and Argentina. They used to be one of the richest countries in the world, but they are not like that anymore. So we have to build up our leading industry in the long run over the wave of the IT and the artificial intelligence revolutions. So that's the long-term goal. But in the short run, we need to extend our domestic consumption. Fortunately, these days, domestic investment and exports are slowly increasing.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
February sales of Korea's major retailers have stayed at levels similar to 1 year ago. According to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, the combined sales of major on- and offline retailers only edged up 0.1% last month from a year earlier, as a sharp gain in online sales was offset by a drop in sagging performance at brick-and-mortar stores. While conventional stores saw sales drop by 6.6%, with big box stores seeing a significant plunge of nearly 20%, online retailers saw sales surge by over 16%. What's to note is for brick-and-mortar stores, the overall number of shoppers climbed, but they spent more heavily on cheaper goods. Korea has the fourth largest number of Starbucks coffee stores in the world in relation to its population. According to Starbucks Coffee Korea, the nation has 1,008 Starbucks stores across the country as of February. Given its population of about 50.5 million, that translates into about one outlet for every 50,000 Koreans. Canada topped the list with about one shop for every 35,000, followed by the U.S. and Singapore. Market watchers say the immense popularity in Korea is largely due to the growing loyalty of women in their 20s and 30s and the company's success in promoting itself as a luxury brand. Starbucks Coffee Korea's sales topped the 1 trillion won mark for the first time last year since opening its first branch back in 1999. Korea's cosmetics companies may have seen a dry spell coming as Beijing continues its economic retaliation against Seoul. Some in the industry are already adapting well by finding ways to diversify their product lines and expanding into other markets. And our Ian Shin shows us how some of these companies turn daunting odds into opportunities.
The shopping district of Myeongdong is one of the most famous tourist spots in Seoul. And not so long ago, it was almost always packed. These days, though, the streets aren't as crowded.
With all these cosmetic shops here, the area was especially popular among Chinese tourists. In fact, so popular that store clerks standing outside would say hi or introduce their products in Chinese no matter who was passing by. But that is no longer the case either.
The number of Chinese visitors in the nation has dropped sharply over the past few months, following Beijing's unofficial economic retaliatory measures against Seoul for its deployment of the THAAD missile defense system. And because China is the primary importer of Korean beauty items, the industry is concerned that other potential retaliatory measures from Beijing could have a serious impact on cosmetic exports in the long run.
Korea has long been dependent on China for exports, but with the recent events, we don't know how long we can maintain the China sales figures. That's why, instead of depending solely on just one market, it's important for Korea to broaden and explore its overseas market potential.
One Korean cosmetics company has already made inroads into markets overseas. Meet the Early Bird, a cosmetics firm that makes beauty products specifically targeting clients in the Middle East. Their makeup line was given Halal certification, meaning it only uses ingredients that are permissible under Islamic law.
I built this line after realizing there was a lack of makeup products that meet the high standards according to Islamic law. It requires that goods be free of animal products, certain chemicals, and dyes. But when we developed the products, the result was cosmetics with no unwholesome ingredients or chemicals. So now our products are in demand globally.
But he isn't the only pioneer. This cosmetics distributor also saw market potential outside China, ahead of its competitors. The company has over 130 Korean cosmetic brands going out to more than 40 countries in regions like Southeast Asia, Europe, and the US. And because different products are popular in different regions, the distributor says that with the right marketing strategies, there's practically no limit to the Korean cosmetics industry's growth.
동남아시아 같은 경우에도 이제 트러블 케어나 아니면 여드름 케어에 굉장히 관심이 많아요. 일본 같은 경우에는 기본적으로 이제 색조 제품이 잘 나가고 있어요.
It was the company's keen eye for market trends that led it to broaden its horizons beyond China. They recognized Korean cosmetics hadn't yet peaked in China and decided to start marketing their products around the world before it happened.
We have a branch in the US and we have individual partnerships with each country in the Southeast Asian region to localize our marketing strategy. For global marketing, our main focus lies in utilizing mobile advertising, social media, and Google's search platform.
Industry experts agree the Chinese market is still valuable. But with the potential for robust sales all over the world, they ask, why not explore all markets?
Korean cosmetics makers used to import their base ingredients, but now they're producing makeup with homegrown ingredients and unique designs. Demand for these original Korean cosmetics is now very high, especially in populous countries like Japan, the US, and India.
To meet the soaring demand, the experts suggest that quality improvements and exceptional marketing tactics are crucial ingredients for global success. As some of the first comers in the field have proven, diversifying your market options is the only way to be successful in the global business arena. Companies seeking to follow with made in Korea products that go beyond beauty may just want to take note. Yoon-shin, Business Daily.
And with more men taking part in household work nowadays, more men are also showing interest in home appliances, especially those with attractive designs. And a growing number of brands are unveiling new lines of products to cater to their preferences. Take a look.
Chun Seok-wan, an artist living in Seoul, starts his day with sophisticated consumer electronics products.
일단 기본적으로는 공간을 보고 공간에 맞는 그런 가전들을 찾아보죠. 디자인적인 요소도 보고요. 기본적인 기능들을 잘 갖춰져 있으면 그것도 판단해서 같이 고려를 하고 있습니다. 냉장고 같은 경우는 조금 디자인 비용이라고 그럴까? 아무튼 다른 냉장고에 비해서는 좀 많이 비싸긴 하죠. 예술 작업을 해서 그런지 틀에 박힌 디자인 제품들이 아닌 색다른 그런 것들을 찾게 되는 것 같아요.
These fancy home appliances made Chun take an interest in household chores, which he previously considered as hassle. But he has certain standards when it comes to buying them.
흉내내고 이런 거보다는
It's almost like owning a piece of authentic artwork with original design instead of a replica.
소장하는 느낌?
He bought most of his appliances himself online or from brick-and-mortar stores.
국내 업체들이나
I compare the prices offered by retailers at home and abroad. If the price from an overseas retailer is cheaper, I make a direct purchase using that foreign website.
Chun isn't the only man taking an interest in home electronics. Purchases by men in the home appliance category have seen a continued rise in recent years, according to eBay Korea estimates. In October 2016, a cordless vacuum cleaner by a British technology company was aired on a home shopping channel. The viewership of the segment among men far exceeded that among women, breaking the common belief that women are the primary shoppers of home electronics. We asked an expert what could be driving men's interest in household appliances.
Men are becoming more active in home electronics shopping. Today, they tend to marry later in life, or some do not marry at all. This has increased the involvement of men in cooking and other household work. The rise in single-person households also has contributed to men's growing demand for electronic appliances.
Single-person households in Korea are on the rise every year. In addition, men's increased involvement in household work, especially in dual-income families, has piqued their interest in devices they would personally use. At this Japanese home appliance store in Yongsan, Seoul, changes in preferences of male shoppers are evident.
Products with good performance are now quite common, so male shoppers now tend to look for both good design and performance in products. They also increasingly consider items that would match the overall mood of their home.
Male consumers tend to loosen the purse strings when their expectations of performance and design are both met, even if a product carries a high price tag.
The recent minimalist trend has found its way to home appliances design. Male consumers now view these appliances as interior accessories. So instead of focusing solely on their performance, they select ones with fancy design, mostly from foreign brands, even if it means paying more.
This electronics appliance store in Yeongnam-po-gu, Seoul, specifically targets male consumers. The brand has seen major growth in recent years, with stores operating nationwide. The retailer capitalized on men's changed attitudes towards electronic devices. It offers a diverse collection of kidult products ranging from video games, action figures to radio-controlled cars, as well as home appliances with sophisticated eye-catching designs. The overwhelming majority of customers here are men. There are several areas in the store where customers can try out and compare different products before buying. These in-store demos also cater to male consumers. Shopping for design-oriented home appliances is play for men doing household work.
We will see more designs that cater to men in home appliances. There is a high chance that men will emerge as the dominant consumer group in the sector, so manufacturers will need to step up their efforts to satisfy their tastes and preferences.
Men's participation in household work has driven noticeable change in the retail sector. What other changes will it bring to our society and economy?
And that wraps it up for today. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with more at the same time, same place for your Business Daily. Until then, goodbye.